Welcome back to Cloud9 versus Team WE, where Cloud9 are on the verge of something very, very historic. 2-1 up versus WE, and the theme of this world appears to be defy expectations. Well, we had yet another impasse of a whole lot of defiance.
Yeah, and we really have to wonder where Team WE goes from here. On the red side, they are lower on options. C9 can opt for the Janna first pick if they want to, because it's unlikely the Team WE is going to ban Kalista, Lulu, and Janna. They can opt for that trade if they want to, but anything could really happen here because C9 has pulled out Aurelion Sol, Singed blind pick twice, so who knows what they got left.
And you talk about allowed to, because, I mean, they're not going to take away Singed. Certainly, you wouldn't expect that to be something 957 has been prepping here. On the red side, already you lost a ban because Kalista has been banned on red side every game of the damn tournament since we got to groups. So if you're adding Singed in there, you're going to have a longer view of the draft to really be able to pick up a win, because you're probably losing out at first pick.
Yeah, and we also have to talk about the pressure that is on Team WE right now. They stood up to it in the group stage by going 3-0 on that final day of group stage. 2 of those games with the Caitlyn, which I feel like was their fallback strategy and why they tunneled on it in the last game. But it is absolutely packed in here. Many people expected them to win. RNG is already in the final. And this is a team that has struggled recently in best of fives. When you talk about analysts saying Team W is one of the top teams in the LPL, it's because they're close to it, but they have a hard time winning best of fives. They lost 2-3 in the semifinals. They lost to IG in the third place match of the LPL regular season, and then barely qualified via the regional qualifier. Not to mention MSI when they fell in the semifinals as well. So there's a lot of memories of losses in best of fives that this Team WE team is fighting against.
And that's why there was doubt when Skurin, for example, was saying this is the best Chinese team, is because when it came to getting here, they took the longest path. They did not get here directly. They did lose in surprising fashion in the semifinals. So actually getting here now, fully under the pressure of a packed house here, not a seat available in sight against Cloud9, not even with side selection, with their fallback strategies falling through. This is really tricky.
And we talked at the top of the broadcast about how, in a sense, this was the play-in final, because both Team WE and C9 have been here for nearly a month. And that's why it's all about innovation and adaptation. You can innovate, but how do you adapt? WE innovated with that Caitlyn pick. When Mystic tried to pull it out once again, he fell, and he needs to bounce back for this game.
And you can see just giving so much attention to the team star player. You have to feel crushed to be the guy that brought out Caitlyn and dominated with it in the tournament. He needs so much strength to him, his coach, his teammates, and himself. Because WE, this is a situation that, yes, they have been in many times before in their history as a team, but not like this.
Before the series started, we had the goal graph that said if C9's ahead, they win. If C9's behind at 10, they lose. I think we have an even more obvious predictor. If we see another 2v2 for the side of C9, I think Mystic really is their last bastion here, WE. They need to throw everything bot lane. Every gank, every draft needs to be bot lane focused, because they need the bot lane to win. When the bot lane goes behind, WE do not have a lot of other tricks.
Yeah, and then when you look at C9, this is a team with a lot of momentum, and as the guy holding up the C9 sign said, if they win here, it will be the first time a North American team has made the semifinals in the LCS era at Worlds, which would be an unprecedented level of success for C9.
And isn't it insane that after a season all about Jensen, an early group stage all about contracts, I'd say your 3 names for highest biggest deliverers here in terms of their performances series are Sneaky, Smoothie, and Impact in some order. It hasn't necessarily been their mid lane jungle that have got them their victories.
And I do find it interesting how they have banned the Lulu right off the bat, which means they are telling Team WE, ban Janna or we first pick it, and you do not have the appropriate answer. This does give Team WE essentially 1 freed up ban if they want to opt into that trade.
That's why you do it, right? You basically say, okay, well, you have to ban the Kalista. Suddenly, you don't want to deal with any Janna lane, so you can only ban, say, Singed, and then everything is left open. So C9 are completely going to decide at least how early this draft will go. We'll see their final ban. They weren't fishing for a Galio, and they're just going to ban straight up the Caitlyn.
Decided to take it away, and I have to say, in general, throughout this whole series, we've been impressed by so many different things from Cloud9, but something that really strikes me is the Tristana ban from WE. Prompts a few cheers from the crowd. Their drafting has been impeccable. Drafting is a team effort. Yes, Reaper is a very good, very smart coach. But the fact that they've stitched all of these together is mind-boggling.
And the Xayah first pick is something we actually expected more of beforehand, but you also wonder whether or not it's necessary with what Team WE has been picking anyway. Is Mystic just going to go with Kog'Maw regardless of the scenario? And now they can also control the Jarvan, and they need to take the Rakan to deny the duo.
You force Rakan, and then Rakan Kog'Maw is a little bit more awkward than some of the other Rakan lanes, so you are pressured when it comes to the Kog'Maw pick. It's going to take Jarvan, but insta-lock on the Sejuani. And, well,
It's
the
terrible.
Tarek's up.
Yep. It's exactly what C9 orchestrated or wanted to orchestrate in Game 2, even though this time they have the Sejuani instead of the Jarvan still insta-locked. When we have seen Tarek versus Rakan, it's been very interesting because sometimes Tarek can be too slow for the Rakan initiation. You need to preempt that ultimate. It takes a long time to actually grant the invulnerability. And in that window, sometimes your whole team can fall.
Well, WE, we knew about their plans coming into this one. Looks like Kog'Maw is in fact the selection, so Cloud9, I love their willingness to adapt in this series, the confidence that they're drafting by picking so quickly. And I think WE, they have to know that things feel shaky. The fundamentals of their team have been tested time and time again, but they need to go back to basics here.
You start thinking, who are the best friends for Kog'Maw in this comp? It's always a Kog'Maw comp. He's always the MVP. Who's around him? Galio, of course, banned way earlier in the draft. The John and Lulu are gone. The Singed has been an attacker, and the reason why I brought it up, Pastry Time, is that Maokai is usually a staple of these Kog'Maw comps. Maokai versus Singed has not been working, so banning away the Singed is a requirement here for WE if they want to crib together some sort of protect the Kog'Maw comp.
Yeah, they're definitely blocking some of the things that C9 has succeeded with before. The Jarvan-Orianna combo is blocked by taking the Jarvan away. The Singed is blocked by just straight up banning it. And now you're in a situation where if C9 bans the Cho'Gath here, which would most likely be blinded by Team WE if they don't, they have the Maokai, and we have an unknown answer to that from C9.
Nar certainly, historically, has been a pick both for impact and into
with
the
Singed
matchup.
ban, for sure.
Wait to
Had
see.
forgotten about that one.
We'll see what Cloud9 do here. I think a lot hanging in. They ban the Jace. Free up Jensen a little bit more. I mean, credit to him for having a game where he didn't snowball and still played very well on a champion that we have been critical of, especially in a teamfight setting. But WE very much forced to take our tank here. We are splitting them, of course, with no ban. WE decide that the one they want is Cho'Gath.
That's why I think Nar is probably going to be the answer here from C9. They could have banned away the Cho'Gath and just dealt with Maokai. So they went away with the Jace because, of course, Xia was the only one who could really get things going. Something like a last pick LeBlanc is something that LPL teams like to do to kind of buffer time by getting a lot of pressure with TP LeBlanc and then having Kog'Maw farm in a side lane. I think it's a very likely pick from WE as a last pick. It's a big pick for Xia. We're focused on the Cloud9 side of things, and still got some good ball carriers. Still going to return to the Orianna.
I also think the Lucian would be a likely pick.
Yep.
Since that was previously banned by C9 in order to set up an Orianna pick. But confidence is king right now for C9. They wouldn't.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that's just a shout out to their substitute top laner, but you never know.
Based on what we've seen today, Pastry Time, this is much more likely. The Gnar also a possibility, but late game Trundle against a Cho'Gath is very good.
And Pillar also can force flashes out of Kog'Maw's depending on how a fight is going. So LeBlanc available, Lucian, like you say. They need to have Xia do the same thing as what we saw in the last game, actually draw attention from C9. Leah also available, could at least have the early shove and could roam down, so it could be more of a WE pick to have a roaming wave clear mid laner instead of an actual pressure valve. But again, it's all about the 2v2 for WE again.
Yeah, a lot of playmaking and engage on this Team WE team, something they have lacked in a lot of these previous games, which is a difficult choice to make when you are down in a series, making it so you have to execute the right plays in order to make this work. Kog'Maw has been Mystic's pick this whole year. It's also difficult for Kog'Maw to build healing reduction against a Trundle. It doesn't really fit into his build the same way he would want. So really interesting composition in this last draft.
Nomicon will be no doubt a pickup for the Talia, but like you say, execution is calling a lot more unlikely. The laning phase also is an interesting one with the Rakan Kog'Maw, like we said earlier. C9 haven't necessarily been able to completely remove WE's options. This is still something that fits in the wheelhouse, but it keeps changing. They keep iterating on the Mystic drafts. They actually need Mystic to, with his performance, command respect in the bot lane, because they cannot have a repeat of the 2v2 from Game 3.
Well, you can hear the crowd here cheering on WE, telling them to refuel. This crowd will need to be perhaps the loudest it has been all tournament long to back the highly pressured WE. They are the darlings of China in so many ways, and they need the help because this is a spot I don't think anyone expected WE to be in.
Yeah, and when you hear this venue after a good WE play, it is the loudest it has been in the 4 days worth of quarterfinals. They are absolutely ready to erupt at WE success. But as we see there, C9 is 1 win away from the semifinals.
Logan says, Team WE, keep your dreams. And for now, it's something they can do, but another early game like the last 2, and things will start to move away from them. And Impact, it's not quite the Singe this time, but Trundle can also run away with a game in his own right.
And we need to track where the early game focus is. The last time Jensen played Orianna in game 2, he blasted Xie's Corki in the mid lane early on, and Contracts and Jensen could orchestrate a kill. Heal this time instead of cleanse. Jarvan also, incredible early gank threat from Condi. Does this actually become a mid-lane focused early game based on the pressure that Jensen's going to want to apply?
There's been multiple games here where C9, and you think back to game 2, they only had mid priority, but they played around that well early. I feel like one of the big things that's kind of happened this tournament, as C9 goes for a bit of a tete-a-tete with WE, is Sejuani. Because in the first week of groups, we knew that Sejuani would be a big pick. Her win rate suffered though, 25% win rate. From week 2 onwards, 60% in week 2. And my big takeaway was when lane priority goes up, Sejuani, if she can be played aggressively, becomes much more powerful. So seeing if Contract can keep up his invading style, keep getting down the deep vision that has been happening in every game here for C9 is a big factor for C9's early game and allows them to really bridge well like the previous game.
And something we probably haven't talked that much about is how well Contracts has jungled in this series. Every game, he is consistently ahead of Condi's gold flow in the early game. Game 1, a tremendous counter jungle of the vertical jungling in the top lane, and the last game, starving out the Maokai with the early Raptor steal. They've had something clever in all of those games. If he can keep it up, it's a good omen for C9.
Mightless here for Contracts. It looks like Condi has done the same. Going to be buff to buff for both. They are on the same side, of course, so the buffs will be different. As I misspoke slightly, Condi actually on the Wolves. See exactly where Contracts goes, but have to think with the E at level 1, he's going to go straight to that blue buff.
I think the forward percentage is one of the big takeaways there. 40% forward percentage lets you know that C9 have been pushing up, forcing WE under their turret, and given how Contracts played, we already mentioned earlier, Jensen, huge forward percentage. C9 love to extend and allow invading. That's the Sejuani that's found success, the ones that can invade. And that's also the C9 that has found all their success this tournament.
And it also cuts both ways. Against the Rakan and Jarvan, that can be a very punishing position to be in. Contracts trying to go for a level 2 gank while there's some aggression in the bot lane.
7 in trouble. Early flash is going to try and get away, but he actually walks back in towards the stun. Double rupture is real nice.
Condi's level 3, which is higher than both Contracts or Impact. Looking to turn this maybe.
It'll be a tough 2v2. Dodges out the first bit of the flail. Impact instead just turns on the Contracts, and Condi forced to walk away.
Double melee lanes with the Sejuani are insanely threatening because they almost instantly proc the Sejuani stun.
It's Trundle. Auto attack reset. Basically, you've got full stacks there, so pretty lethal one. I like the Fizz Sejuani saw earlier as Mystic.
Stun hits. Ben tries to play defense. Smoothie dodges the W knockup. Sneaky. Hard winning this trade.
Yeah, Mystic is not having a great early game, but he was trying to bait for the Xie roam. The fact that had almost 0 payoff, and now that's a full wave that Xie gave in that mid lane, is not a good sign for WE's mentality in this game.
I mean, Rakan's W was down. They had no real way to actually take a trade, so Xie kind of saw firsthand his bot lane losing and had to just go back mid lane, like you say. Losing crucial experience early. Gets a really nice back timing. You almost never get first back timing as an Orianna against Talia without getting heavily punished.
And Heal is already down in that lane, but the steal from Condi, pretty huge.
Protects his jungle there. 957 gonna roam down, but Impact there just in case. Ward from 957 into the brush. Impact answers.
I say that's a huge steal because that would have been level 4 for Contracts, and it's about a 100 gold swing for either direction, so it's 200 gold in total when that's stealing away. Now Condi is a level up on Contracts, and also about 350 gold up on Contracts as well, which is the first early game we've really seen Condi have an edge.
Very slight one though, and bot lane, like we saw before, is not happy times for WE. His insistence on the Kog'Maw has put them in some holes when it comes to laning phase patterns. We mentioned many times already that Rakan and Kog'Maw have a bit of negative synergy early before the items allow them to punish.
Yeah, and C9 itemizing very heavily for the lane to win the lane. They've gone with the Targon's version of Taric rather than the Ancient Coin, lower gold generation. Also Doran Shield instead of the Relic Shield, which is something that Mystic has opted for once again. So they need to actually win this lane by a fair bit to prevent the Mystic outscale.
Seen some Grass of the Undying Taric's comeback, but it's going to be the wind speakers here to get the maximum value out of the healing.
Deft move though from Impact, dodging that Rupture again, just maybe figured some pressure was there. Condi was trying a lane gank, but Impact will just comfortably take this CS down, and Jensen has also returned, like you mentioned, had the early back from before. Kind of a race to level 6, should be pretty close experience-wise for these two mid laners, but Jensen again, if he can just keep Talia occupied, making sure Shige doesn't leave the lane and go the likely place, which is that bot lane. C9 containing well so far.
Now, Talia lanes this week have been very, very interesting to track. Think back to how well Crown was able to use Talia in Game 2 of Samsung Longzhen and the struggles of BDD to recreate his success. To me, in this particular game, especially with a team like WE, a winning mid lane situation isn't a solo kill for Talia. It's 2 control wards towards the bottom side of the lane that allows Talia to leave lane and always threaten a roam bot. That is the gold standard for W. They need to control the bottom quadrant of mid lane to at least threaten the roams to buy Mystic and Ben time that forces Sneaky and Smoothie to react.
Or even just this. He's pushed Xie into lane enough that he can go shield contracts on a solo of the Ocean Drake. A 6-minute Ocean Drake is so good for specifically Orianna, who can have some mana issues in lane. This means that Jensen gets to move his ball whenever he wants and not suffer the mana consequences once this Ocean Drake goes down.
Usually the flow-on effect of as WE getting the double control ward is that things like Drake are very easy for the Talia side to take, so kind of under the nose at an earlier timing that you could actually claim that vision. Like you say, the Ocean Drake early will be happy times for C9.
Very risky teleport from Impact right now as Talia's already in position to roam up, knowing that Jensen was just down at the Drake pit.
Yep, Shie with the wall, gonna try and cut Impact off. Impact with a great pillar. An ult 957 to try and get away. Good flash out of the seismic shot, but Condi here to try and lock him down. Knock up is good. Impact ruptured after the silence. Will follow, and the first blood goes to 957.
Impact was so confident in that lane. 15 CS lead, Tiamat completed. Decides to just teleport straight back into lane and continue to assert dominance, but the map was not prepped. The map was prepped for the Drake.
Seemed tunnel visioned as well. Sometimes hard to see where the vision showed, but of course flashed into basically melee range of the Jarvan and was taken down. So maximum punishment there for the Trundle, as we can see on the replay.
Just another example of a lack of vision. If he just flashes over the wall, there's a chance he can escape that towards his turret, but does not.
Yeah, the flash into Condi, I think, was not necessarily there. That just means flashes down. We could see the repeat play is top side, but that's good news moment for W in the early game for a couple of games now in this series.
Reminder that that's Foot Summoners as well, because he TP'd into that play. Well punished by WE, but Impact with the Tiamat going to be pretty squishy, but at least he'll power down the waves.
Definitely playing the long game with the Trundle. We've seen the build of choice really be the Ravenous Hydra in those side lanes into a late game cooldown reduction build where you're relying on your ultimate to become the supreme tank in team fight.
I mean, Ravenous Hydra Spirit, there's some absurd amount of healing whenever you're in with minions and champions dying, so I imagine that will still be the choice here, given that Cho'Gath does primarily magic damage as well. I mean, everyone's doing magic damage basically on the side of WE.
Steal though, Jensen will get it. There is a blow up on the C9 side. We'll see if She is able to grab the other side. Impact even down to ward it right now by the looks of things. Might even take it himself if he feels like doing a bit of jungling, and Contract looking to steal away the Grump.
Gotta be careful.
Contract wins the smite fight. A little
Dead.
unfair. Oh, Buskin already out. Contract splashed through. Really heads up play.
Tried to flash onto the blast cone, and Radius couldn't get their second kill. Handed over by the side of C9 as Impact maybe just trying to take down the blue buff because he knows his team won't be in a position to claim it.
A lot of times these game fours that are elimination games for one team rely so heavily on momentum and mentality. And for Team WE, getting these 2 early kills could just slingshot them into much more confidence. Condi is in a very powerful position now. Flash up, ult up, Thunderlords on the J4. He can go and make plays now, especially after burning the flash of Contract.
And he hasn't been empowered. He's been on the back foot almost the entire series. So a shift in mindset, not necessarily for the late game carry and Mystic, but for their jungler. Could also be very, very big. Contracts had his smite available, would claim it, but even with flash up, he's under more threat than he seemed to understand.
And a very heads-up play by Mystic there to hit the blast cone as Contracts had most likely buffered his flash to try and get on it. Ends up burning the flash and still dies.
Certainly strong there for WE. Happy to pick up the 1,000 gold lead and those 2 kills. Mystic did get an assist as well, so a bit of extra gold for the Cogmore. It's struggling a little. 10 CS down to Sneaky currently.
We do have to wonder about how this game transitions into late game, though, because when you talk about magic damage on Team WE, there is a lot of it, and C9 can itemize very efficiently as far as tanks are concerned.
Juke forward there for Jensen. Condi actually maybe now trapped, forced to get out of the way. Ulti on, they're actually going to go in for the other play. Shockwave is good, but the damage isn't quite there. She flashes out of the way, but now Contract Splashes is in trouble. Condi fighting where he can. Jensen kills good, but Xie gets the snipe.
The extra gold is so important there. Couldn't take down Xie, could flash to safety. Not enough oomph on the Shockwave that time from Jensen, and another nose ahead for WE.
Exactly. Bomby Cinder on one jungler, no Bomby Cinder on the other. At the time of that fight, huge turnaround, both heals expended. What looked like a favorable play for C9 gets turned around.
And now with kills in every lane, the crowd comes alive. 3-0 and counting for WE. Push themselves to 2,000 gold ahead.
Around their bot lane yet. Xie had a lead in the previous game and wasn't able to parlay it into the same sort of space occupying that largely a WE win looks like. Make no mistake, a WE win usually looks like Mystic getting a huge amount of farm in the early game and being the late game carry. Condi did purely face check Contracts, and Xie was surprised at the change of target.
And it looked like a great ultimate from Contracts, but they didn't have the damage, and now he's trapped in a Cataclysm against a red buff level 7 Jarvan, unable to dodge the seismic shove. So good eyes to get the ultimate from Sejuani, but as you mentioned, they just didn't have the gold.
Current HP lead is certainly going to be there with C9. They got a little bit of damage in mid lane, a lot in the bot lane, but when the Weaver's Wall is up, the Alamo, the last man defense of the bot lane turret can certainly be pretty large from WE, so actually taking down, completing that turret take may involve a lot more resources than just the 2v2.
And the Ardent Sensors completed by Ben. That was the gold generation they bought in that lane by going this strategy.
Contracts knocked back up, and not quite enough for the angle. Now ulti forcing Condi to flash. Nice shockwave there from Jensen. TP.
Cancel.
Impact, yep, does cancel.
That means they're going to have a teleport disadvantage around Infernal Drake time, which is in 30 seconds.
Ooh, good initiation as well, but the Tarot is nice, sneaky. What's the first target? And now C9 will push forward, but probably not enough. Dazzle will miss. And no roots at all from the pullback. Sneaky again, playing confident.
A really nice burst trade taken by WE. The ult there really bought nothing, no trade damage. No ult even used by Sneaky.
And this could be the dive. Taric ultimate down, teleport for 957, Sneaky chunked out. All the elements are right there.
957 also ready with the TP, but Sneaky clears the wave and backs off. Infernal is live though, so WE. Do they want the bot tower and the gold potentially for Mystic, or do they want the Infernal? They might try for both this.
Who knows?
With this tower.
Yeah, that's the thing, they might get everything here.
Exactly, I think the strategy is to actually go for both. You know you just force the duo lane into a recall, you can take this, and then once you get that early turret, you're gonna have control of the Infernal Drake regardless.
Attack speed everywhere. The Ardent Sensor already being finished, so first turret gold. Mystic splitting that one with Ben, but certainly happy to, and there's a happier crowd.
Hasn't been about the Talia play helping bot side either. Largely it was Contracts being over-eager, caught with his hand in the cookie jar, trying to take a Grom, and the flow-on effect has been that they just turned on him at every possible moment. WE power down the Infernal as well, and do take full control of this game as we get through the early game.
3,000 gold, Infernal, first turret. C9 wants to match it, but they still do not have Ardent Sensor onto Smoothie. And then when we hit the team fight phase, it is going to be very difficult to play Taric from behind against such good initiation that can be controlled by Team W. Rakan versus Taric makes it very difficult for the Taric to time ultimates, because even if the Rakan goes in, can get the ultimate and then fly right back out.
There's more variables, right? They're likely to be behind in terms of vision control, so face checks can happen. The Talia Weaver's Wall can catch people and split a team as well. From behind, it becomes harder and harder to execute team fights. And C9, for the first time in a while, do find themselves in a pretty significant hole.
Take the turret, but tempo loss is big. The duo lane from WE is already up towards that top lane. Impact is diverted immediately away from that lane, but I don't know if C9 can get there fast enough to try and defend their next turret.
Yeah, they are very far behind the pace of this game. Do not have vision in their own jungle. Also haven't been able to get enough pressure in the mid lane to transition that vision elsewhere. Team WE far ahead of the pace.
C9, this is their style. They will, like most Korean teams, try to answer when the map is being cross-mapped. They don't try and make their own plays. They do try to follow the tempo of WE. That means they find themselves growing a bigger and bigger gold disadvantage, if not giving up the entire map control, as they do have control wards on their blue side.
And it feels like at this stage of the game, it is time for C9 to stall, and it's time for Team WE to try and get Rift Herald and break mid lane. The item power spikes are incredibly important to note here. Still no Sensor, still no Essence Reaver, whereas Rageblade, Sensor, and Morellonomicon are all completed for Team WE.
Basically means you can't fight. A team fight win for C9 involves a significant misplay from WE. You wouldn't give them credit for, especially with flashes up on both the Talia and Kog'Maw, and even the playmaking flash available for the Rakan. So in full defense mode here for C9, losing the minimum, as we like to say.
And there is a potential road out of this for C9 if they can freeze the gold somehow, because very late game, when Trundle gets to use his ultimate on Cho'Gath in the front line, when Sejuani gets to have 200 magic resist against the Kog'Maw, Talia, and tank J4, they will be absurdly durable. But if they are down 15,000 gold by that point, it's not going to matter.
If we hadn't seen game one, we wouldn't have really thought about the super late game for Cloud9 because they just weren't opting into them. They weren't drafting for them. Games were largely decided based on their early game. It is still a lot to ask from C9, and WE would also have to really not be able to push the advantage that so far tempo has been good for them in terms of taking objectives. But given that we've seen at least a sample size of one on this day, there's still a chance for C9.
Botlane at least catching up a little for C9. First items completed. Arden and Essence Reaver up now for Smoothie and Sneaky. Of course, they'll be behind in gold as Mystic and Ben are just ahead.
There you go.
7 little Sneaky. Can't burst them out of that one right now. Chain CT is good. The Cosmic Radiance might save him for long enough. Buys time with the Featherstorm, but where can he really go? He flashes up at a wonderful wall. Will give Mystic the kill.
Just so far up, they end up burning everything and dying anyway. That might have been one of those situations where you just decide to die, but C9 push a little bit on trying to defend, and Team WE make another play.
And that Rift Herald you spoke about, Jack, is going to be free food for the Cho'Gath and Team WE. Not getting to that point where C9 can try to take fights. They weren't comfort in game one, won some fights kind of against conventional logic. Here they just don't have item timings to even think about fighting, so ends up being a bonus kill. It's kind of been the story a couple of times this game. A bonus and also the primary objective, and things reset with C9 still very behind.
Jensen not going to go back just yet, as consistently pressured here in this lane, is up 20 CS as well, but that turret's about 50%. That's not quite enough for C9 to really go for it, especially when they don't have the Rift Herald. So again, WE maintain the advantage here in this game. Yes, Impact with the Ravenous is maybe getting worked on in the long lane, but everything else is kind of falling apart. Cena, again, have to play good defense, and this was not that.
And they don't cover the river with enough of their wards, so Sneaky up too far. If he would have ulted immediately, there's a chance he can escape this one, but even so, flashing when the Weaver's wall is already there, completely unnecessary. He was going to die 100% there with the flash, and Team WE has bounced completely back from what seemed like devastation in Game 3, where they got obliterated in the bottom lane with that Caitlyn pick. But this game, every lane, as well as Condi in the jungle, is showing up.
I mean, we're seeing week 1 and week 2 Team WE with Mystic also. Some kills, hitting his item timings.
Ooh, Shockwave stun lands in, that could be a kill, but a great combo there is not enough.
That's a really big play for C9 if they can start getting this control. Freezing the gold lead becomes much easier when you have killed the jungler.
It's probably going to be more around what can happen bot side, because Cho'Gath had to be called over. They need to actually take the Cho'Gath out of mid lane to actually have a chance to take down this turret, even though it's very low.
Grouping up with the Taric has been C9's best strategy when they've had it. They're just going to continue to pressure this mid lane.
Does find Sneaky. He has ulti. Jensen forced splash up, and now Ben is going to force splash as well. Healing up from Smoothie's nice, but Mystic is massive. He snaps contracts. Jensen, he's going to be next as Chie takes him out.
3v4. WE are winning these trades. Smoothie could have used his ult earlier to try and force the outer turret. He didn't. He tried to hold it for the right moment. It was too late. You talked about it, Jack, from behind. So hard to time, comically late, and that means C9 give up 2 kills.
Mystic is unleashed in this game. Max stack Ginsu's rage when he decides to flash in, and as we mentioned, he just always seems to have that one auto attack follow through as C9 tries to defend.
Well, Impact will at least steal the blue buff, but it is a small consolation after this exchange.
Remember, this is always going to be 4v3. Cho'Gath is not coming. He has to deal with the Trundle. First, Jensen has to flash defensively. Taric ult available this entire time, and 2 kills already before it arms.
Unreal skill there by Mystic to alt contracts while he's flashing forward to shoot Jensen. Picks up both kills.
Well, having seen him as one of the best ADs in the tournament for no reason. Now 2-0-2. Sneaky had an outrageous scoreline in the last game. Mystic maybe repaying him in kind. Ocean Drake will also belong to WE. There's no piece ready for 957, but it is not necessary.
This game is far too accelerated for C9's liking. They want to be able to group up with a lot of magic resist on their tanks, with a fairly tanky Ardent Sensor Taric, but they don't have time for that. Baron is up in 15 seconds. Team WE is on 2-item power spikes on their main carries. They're to continue to push the tempo here and force Baron almost immediately.
I feel like they're 10,000 gold behind, 41,000 gold. Maybe C9 can start to find the items, but at this point, they're probably going to be consistently further and further behind. There's just not enough gold in the game for C9, the tank line in particular, to be tanky. And
good fight into Jensen. Condi gets out. Great shot there with the recombo, and CA on a well-deserved killing spree. Smoothly falls against a Mystic, and the flash, silence, rupture, feast is all good from 957.
And C9 trying to scout the river before Smoothie's Taric ultimate is up. It's exactly where Team WE wanted them to be, and they might answer C9's 25-minute win with the 25-minute win of their own.
C9 just keep pushing up too far for their own good. They are not strong enough to take the minion waves they're looking for. They need gold. They're a slave to actually getting more items, but they're not even going to be able to get anywhere near them. Every time they hit minion waves around the middle of the map, they're going to lose more objectives to Baron already.
Interference Herald turns into mid-outer turret dead. Kind of just used it, I think, was running out of time, but more than enough to seal another objective off the back of that play. 8,000 gold ahead now for WE, and we've just crested 21 minutes.
Feels good when you use the small one and you get the big one straight afterwards as well, so they're feeling really good about the purple monsters here.
Yeah, and you can see Impact trying to get a split push happening. That doesn't work against a Baron buff team. And here C9 is thinking maybe they can get Condi. Condi knows exactly what he wants to do after that.
Gotta ask why their first thought is let's get someone, because the potential turnaround on every member, there's extra items on every member of WE. 957 just solos down Sneaky, nothing he could do after the flash Feral Scream, that was hard to say. And yep, there was about 600 damage done by C9 that fight.
A little bit of destruction there by Team WE. Those numbers would be higher if C9 had more health, because everyone died right away and they haven't been able to build any items. So now Team WE with the Talia can potentially just siege up Weaver's wall, C9 to cut off, and maybe even pressure the inhibitor that way. They have so many options right now.
957 completely unfazed as he just romps around the jungle, trying to get a bit of flank vision or even a potential dive setup for WE. Baron will be on for quite a while. C9 probably not holding on to too many turrets, but they're going to have to play some real good defense. And if I think, honestly, if WE don't get an inhibitor turret off this play, we may have to call that a victory for C9, given the circumstances.
They can take control of this brush. Remember that Ben's flash is available. They can then go for some extensive playmaking. They can just pillar minion waves. They come in and buy time. But notice they're not buying time when carries are farming in side lanes. It's just Impact here. Might just be burst down.
Here comes Xie, pops the ulti. Bit of extra health for WE. Full rotation to the bot lane.
Yeah, and that's a very big cooldown for the Trundles to lose. When he has the Ravenous Hydra, he is no longer tanky without his Subjugate. So easy doing for Team WE right there. Gets the control wards. Weaver's wall, they want the next.
Beautiful.
I think he actually the one trapped in. He's like, I don't really like this at all. But the turret's gonna fall down. I said, it'd be good if they didn't lose it. Well, they can't. They might go into the back line. Ulti pop by Smoothie, but I don't think that's gonna be it. Damage in the front side is Condi actually maybe a step too far, but Ben finds only Sneaky, but Mystic starting to unleash. Better Storm pulls it back, but Mystic still looking for the snipes. He's not on rampage as he takes down Contracts.
Ben had a snowball QSS to Sejuani of all people, and then held onto his combo till after the Taric ultimate had fully run out. He still got into the back line. They still got a kill. They got the objective they came for, and C9, their base is in tatters.
Not say enough how much Team WE has bounced back here. QSS on Ben, as you mentioned. So cute to block the Sejuani ultimate stun and then immediately turn it for the initiation. If there was a moment for them to overreach, it could have actually been that one with Condi going so deep, but they get the inhibitor and they still have a minute left on Baron.
I mean, as CDR boots and QSS, let me tell you, this guy has one thing in mind, and that is playmaking. Notice that he has not used his ultimate or even his grand entrance as the fight starts. C9 like, this is going better than expected, and then they're all caught up.
Yeah, nearly killing Smoothie and Jensen. If they get those kills, the game is over with the next Baron minion wave. So C9 do hold, but 10,000 gold down at 24 minutes.
Not much of a hold, unfortunately for them. Jensen did get a kill. Again, a bit of consolation there. Managed to take down Condi, but the mountain that C9 are required to climb, or two, I think there's maybe one extra in the way, given how far ahead WE are. They are already comfortable with this kind of comp. When they're even, they are firmly ahead looking to push us to game 5.
It's going to be a full court press. The right move from WE. They can push all 3 lanes. They're not worried about their Kog'Maw being caught out in the top side.
This is how worried they are.
Exactly. They're just so safe in this point. No vision control, but happy to walk up. Just power down the base. Super minions eventually will crest into the bot side, and they can just rinse and repeat with the Taliyah wall plays.
C9's trying to get something done on the Cho'Gath, but they're not even close to
No one told Cho'Gath yet. He's still full health.
Warmogs will heal him up very easily.
I'm glad I gave that one to you guys, because I was not jumping in on Cho'Gath dying.
C9 feels like they're heavily out of options right now. Beautiful wall.
Impact, the only bit of defense right now. Ben zips back towards Mystic, and Mystic's just like, yep, I'm chilling out. Ooh, good ult. Actually, I think tanked there by Ben. Cures that up, but Mystic's still there. Shockwave is good.
They killed Mystic.
Kill. They managed to take down the threat. Still, Cena moving forward. Can it be too aggressive? But Condi, he's actually going to go down to Jensen. Grabs himself a double kill. 957's going to be the third, and C9 hold.
Those shutdowns are so important. Experience on the underleveled members. Gold on the emaciated carries that could not find any CS. Is it going to be enough to turn around the game? Probably not. Still 10,000 gold, but a great feel-good moment for C9.
Nexus turret falls as they make that defense, but potentially a game-saving move. It shows the path forward in team fights. Mystic gets hit by Shockwave with flash up. That can't happen, especially as this game gets later. We talk about how C9's items do scale. Fights like this could help to get them there.
See the replay here. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a big fight, but Mystic first takes the stun from Taric and then just gets exploded like earlier games with the Shockwave even before the big items are complete. The 3 clean kills and even an Mountain Drake, I should say, taken by contracts on the back end.
Yeah, and when we mentioned how Kog'Maw and Rakan was a bit of an awkward combo, that's kind of why. If you ever do get on top of the Kog'Maw, the Rakan is by no means the same level of protection that you would want on that champion. Mystic, very free to pick Kog'Maw, even without the super protection supports, but it does give C9 a window open and probably puts the seed of doubt in Team WE's minds.
Mentioned it before, get to 41,000 gold. When they were at 31,000, they're still behind, but why I said that is that with 10,000 gold among the 5 members, big items like Spirit Visage is complete for Impact. Now he can actually occupy space for a long time with his ultimate. Void Staff actually complete also. So Jensen having threat even on the front line. Getting that gold, allowing you to at least have your items is very important for C9.
Yeah, but the big problem will still be the Baron, which is up in 30 seconds, and Team WE still has vision control as well as a Cho'Gath to get that secure, and tremendous engage from the Fog of War. So if C9 does want to go in here, it's going to be really hard for them to get the vision.
No,
they're going all out for this.
Actually took the Banshees out. Conduit Radiant's in. Cloud9 going to keep trying to press the play. Impact walking up their blast cone. Doesn't even need it to escape. Xie with enough.
Carrick ultimate down. Condi still has his. Team WE want to unleash the Recombo on them right now.
We have a lot of options. They considered teleporting into the base to take an inhibitor. They don't. They put down the Weaver's wall. No one really caught out, though.
Baron is up. That's why C9 wanted to make an aggressive play, I think. But again, using their cooldowns offensively and getting nothing means it's WE's turn to waltz towards the Baron.
60 more seconds on Cosmic Radiance. Team WE just waiting for that engage onto C9. C9 doesn't want to give this up.
Oh my God! That engage was nasty! Mystic rooted up, and C9 are trying to get out of the way. Tara kills though, probably not enough. Shockwave though, 4-man. It's ripped through with the Featherstone for Sneaky. Might turn it back around. 957. Stone played up and up for too much. Like where his contract starts back in him respawns. Impact gets the kill. Contracts though, he did go down.
These fights are not that favorable for Team WE. What looked like a dream engage from Rakan didn't have the immediate follow-up from the team, and C9 splits the fight.
It was an unswept ward that actually allowed Ben to hit the picture-perfect grand entrance, but like you say, DPS was away. Mystic wasn't able to get the AoE Hurricane down, and they tried the Baron. They will just reset. That fight went way better than expected for C9.
C9 still need to defend their base. That is a bunch of minions bashing that inhibitor.
That's enough. Top lane also under threat. Sneaky still splitting. Took mid, looking for a second turret. C9 getting very aggressive with trying to come back and grab some gold.
This is the type of chaos, though, that C9 wants to have. It extends the game, it keeps a lot of gold flowing into their pockets, and it allows them to itemize the heavy amount of magic resistance to prevent Team WE from getting that killing engage.
And it should be an impossible scenario for C9 to be taking down grouped minion waves in their base and Baron stays alive, because if they are sending their carries to kill those minions, WE will run straight onto Baron. They've just got a couple more waves, but so far C9 defending the Baron.
And Impact has to be in base to clear that minion wave. Weaver's wall goes off right now, and Team WE just straight up starts it. I don't know if they have the damage to burst it down in time. Weaver's wall is down. C9's going to run in here.
Yep, Contracts again looking for the play. Sneaky late to the fight, but it might not matter. Ulti defensive, finds Ben. Shockwave, he's going to clip the regard. He makes his way back, giving the Cosmic Radiance. He's actually good enough. Sneaky though, chunked up by Shie's Condi. Re-engages with the Cataclysm, gets his way out. C9 still looking for it, but Smoothie, he goes down. The healer is dead. And C9 playing a 5v4.
On the side of all this, Sneaky was DPS'd out, wasn't able to put down a piece of damage in that fight. WE straight back on Baron.
They're going to continue to try this one. Smoothie not there to heal the team. It looks like all but secured. Smoothie, Contracts might try.
Trying for heroic space, good. Q's in, knows it's gone, gets himself out, but Ben, he will find his way over. Contract, maybe now just buying time. Permafrost up, Ben. The rest of WE splitting to the lanes. Contracts knows he's likely dead. He just has to kind of waltz them around the rift and hope nothing too bad happens.
There's not a lot of damage around, except now Cho'Gath's here.
No. A delicious meal there for 957. Oh, Condi actually going to grab it. No feast available is why. And again, the aggressive trades continue. Mid-tier 2 will stay up, though.
But the fact that that kill was delayed actually helps Team W a whole lot. They already have Mystic back. We're going to watch this fight one more time. The critical thing is Sneaky trying to flank, ends up taking a bunch of damage and can't stay in the fight.
He does not put down a single point of damage in this fight. He has to just walk towards his base. With the group threats, maybe, but the seismic shove in the Cataclysm, too easy for the side of Xia, and just no return damage from C9.
This would be the moment for Team WE to break C9. They have an exposed inhibitor in the top lane. They have a dead inhibitor in the bottom lane, and there is already one fell Nexus turret, but their initiation has to be clean. Jensen does have that shockwave. Mystic is flashless.
And himself will have flash soon with those CDR boots. He is the one who must make the big initiation. It's the easiest there. If he starts and then Jarvan follows up, so they're going to probably wait out that cooldown. Mystic himself doesn't have flash, like you mentioned.
And patience is key right here. They have the Weaver's Wall. They would want to just split C9 up, cut them off from a turret, and take the risk-free turret. That would be the correct play here.
Well, again, where does C9 choose to put the lane as Jensen bobs up towards that top? He's going to try and deal with the Baron up minions here in the top lane. Chige again playing safe, fading back for a wall angle. There's a good one. Going to cut them off from the turret completely, pillar under the minions, but WE going to take down the turret.
Great geometry here with these Weaver's Walls this game. Perfectly bisects the entire team of C9. It's going to be 3 exposed inhibitors, 2 already down.
And let C9 go for the fight right now. Contracts is trying to get the angle.
They have to as well. I think C9 know the pressure they are under. It is so difficult to win a game when you have all 3 inhibs down, and Baron buff is still on WE for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, they might even stay here until they can try and kill the Nexus. It's forcing C9 to a choice. They have about 15 seconds to make this fight.
They're going in, Cosmic Radiance in, but a good combo. Actually, there's so much damage. Just Smoothie still trying to fight it out. Jensen doesn't have the shockwave, and Mystic kills the tank after the invulnerability wears off. Contract gonna get sniped as Mystic grabs himself the double. WE poised to take this inhibitor and the game.
One of the best case scenario fights, but unfortunately not the damage on Sneaky to actually take down the front line after they grouped and clumped up for the Orianna ult. This should probably be the game as the minion waves start to group.
Super minions still coming in with Baron. As you mentioned, 3v5. Here we go.
Flash, barrel scream there for 957, trying to run interference on the carries. Ben leaps forward, turret dead, Nexus exposed. This series has been good, so WE say, let's play another.
The final quarterfinal heading to Game 5, and Team WE prove that they can bounce back in a big way. Their most impressive win of the series comes on the brink of elimination.
Just like when C9 won, not everyone on the side of WE in Game 4 is ecstatic. Game 5s are oh so high energy, high octane, and WE has had a bad record in those so far this season. So they'll walk away here. This was very much Worlds 2017 group stage WE. They enacted early, they got Mystic ahead in lane, even in a Cogmore lane. They hit the item timings, and even though there was some hiccups in the 20 to 30 minute phase, it felt like the victor wasn't really in doubt.
Yeah, and this is the dream series as well. You have games 1 and 2, both going long and being very close. C9 wins the game handily, then Team WE wins the game handily, making Game 5 also like a feel-good decider, because it doesn't feel like any team got cheated somewhere along the way. How WE bounced back shows so much mental fortitude, but C9 also has shown to be clutch so far here at the World Championship, winning exactly when they need to. All comes down to this.
Certainly something has to break, but to get their thoughts on how Team WWE brought this series to a Game 5, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. Cloud9 brought back down to earth as WE comes back from the grave there to extend us to a 5th game in this series. We were looking at those player cams pretty intensely leading up to that 4th game, and it looked lost for Team WE, but they managed to pull something miraculous out and have a very, very strong showing against Cloud9 here.
And it's all about the comfort picks. I mean, the player cams you already mentioned, Mystic had his head in his hands, Coach Ohm had to come behind him, give him the massage, give him the old 1-2, and the thing is, they put him back on his Kog'Maw. Like, that's his big champion, the comfort pick. But more importantly, they didn't sacrifice Condi's champion for Mystic. It was no longer the first rotation ADC. They gave Mystic the Jarvan. If Kog'Maw is the Chinese pick, Jarvan is also the Chinese pick. We love that champion. And then seeing CA on his Talia across the board. It's an oldie, but a goodie, and it finally worked.
It did, but what on the Cloud9 side did not work was the Sejuani for contracts. 3 games of Jarvan, sure, that was great, but Sejuani looks like Bristle had a mind of her own that game. I'm not sure.
I'm going in.
Guys, I was going to say there was a lot of that being on contracts rather than being on Sejuani.
Yeah.
As you said so eloquently earlier, Crumbs, contracts got too hyphy too early in this game and gave up a lot of early priority.
I mean, it's all about composure in these, game deciders, rather series deciding moments, and there may be some inexperience showing there from contracts on the world stage as he does overextend a bit and hand advantages back to Team WE. But then, hey, the ball's in Team WE's court, and they play with it pretty masterfully there throughout the game in terms of extending that lead and kind of striking right back from a devastating loss in Game 3.
Yeah, and I'm going to make it really easy for Team WE and for viewers at home. Ban Tristana, pick Jarvan, and then focus on the adaptation ban, the banning of the Singed I actually really like, which it opens up Mystic to go back to that Kog'Maw and not feel threatened by someone, flashing forward and flinging him into disaster.
I want to take a look at the team fight that put WE in the driver's seat 21 minutes in the top river.
And this is just the second they see Cloud9 out of position, they execute so beautifully here. You've got the wall behind them, everybody trapped, the teleport comes through, and just to finish it all off, the flash silence to delete Sneaky from the rift.
That was a symphony of engage right there. It was actually so beautiful to watch as we saw the multiple angles all coming together. And going into the next game after this one of the biggest things, you guys keep talking about the player cams and the mentality here though now for WE, as you talk about this battling their past with Game 5s and all of that, they look extremely confident coming out of this win. So now it's going to be up to Cloud9 and Reaper, who has done such a good job so far, to reorient those guys.
And just to remind the viewers back home, if you don't really follow Team WE's curse with best of fives, when it comes to Game 5, they have a terrible tendency to lose 55 minutes in just a massive team fight. It's happened to them at least 4 times, and I think they've only come back from it once, and it was the regional qualifiers that actually sent them to this World Championship.
I mean, it'd be rather fitting to have the first 2 games be close and long, dominance out of C9, dominance out of WE, and then a game-deciding 55-minute team fight one way or the other in Game 5. One can only hope. That said, I want to focus totally in on this 5th game. Throw everything else out the window for both of these teams. How do they craft a victory? You laid out champ select for Team WE, but what about beyond that? How do they execute in game? And for C9, where are the answers?
I think it has to be around Condi. Condi's Jarvan performance was much better. He was able to counter gank a lot of what Contracts was trying to put together. So it's not sacrificing Condi's early game jungle pressure. And in tandem, that goes with CA as well. He has to be able to keep pace with Jensen to open up opportunity for him to help Mystic bottom.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, we focus on junglers a lot, but it's for good reason. And especially in this series, we've seen a lot of the games determined by the performances of these junglers. Cloud9's victories, a lot of them were on the back of very early leads due to a lot of Condi's mistakes actually in those. So whatever you need to do, whether it's a massage, whether it's comfort champions, that's what they have to focus on.
I could use a massage right now, but okay, yes.
Analyze, baby.
Okay,
Get in there.
All right, I got it. I'm ready. So what Cloud9 needs to be doing is not just with the picks, not just with the jungler, but in the synergy behind the plays that they're going for. It worked very well in their wins, but every time that they have had a loss or find themselves at a deficit, it seems like one guy thinks that the right play is to go this way, the other one's trying to go for some other random move. We saw some very questionable teleports out of Impact that I'm even curious to see who even made that call. If maybe it was just a misclick because it was that bad. So they need to just refine and stick to objectives before just looking at champions.
WE back on blue side, but it all seems to come back to this idea of execution. And in these game-defining moments, who is going to perform better on the day? We've seen it across the board. Markings of World Championship teams like SK Telecom showing that composure in a Game 5 in order to take it, whereas newcomer teams definitely sometimes overreaching and whatnot. For both of these teams, play-in teams that are now looking to challenge and move into top 4 at Worlds. There is so much pressure on these guys, and based on the way that the series has been going, it feels like it could flip a coin. And from the players' mentality, I don't even know how we'd start to begin to deal with that as a player sitting in one of those chairs.
It's a historic moment as well. You know, North America would finally have a team in the semifinals since season
Don't jinx
1.
it.
And Team WE trying to rebuild their legacy of 2012. I can't even imagine the pressure and the spotlight that both of them are under.
All right, well, the last semifinal spot has come down to Game 5. So meet us back here after the break to see if Team WE or Cloud9 will make it to Shanghai.
Up is good. Impact ruptured after the silence. Will follow in the first blood. Goes to 9-5-7. Hunter gets out. Great shot there with the recombo of CA on a well-deserved killing spree. Smoothing falls against the Mystic. And the flash. Silence. Rupture. Feast is all good from 9-5-7.
Come on, go, go, go!